Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chai Together. Today we have a guest speaker named Kawan Glover. Say hi, Kawan.
Hey, everybody. I'm here.
All right. So today he's our first guest speaker. And Kawan is a survivor. His diagnosis is cavernous malformation, stroke, opioid addiction, and he has also had one suicide attempt in his past. He's a survivor because he have lived through the stroke, 3 brain surgeries. He's also dealt with suicide ideations, which possibly led to his attempt. He suffered from depression and also been in $1.2 million in medical debt. Despite these hardships, Kawan has started his own company called Overcoming Adversity, which leverages his ordeal to help others, as the name says, to overcome their adversity regardless of its shape and form. And he's also a writer, public speaker, and a self-published author of a memoir entitled Favor: How Stroke, Struggle, and Surgery Helped Me Find My Life's Purpose. Welcome, Kawan.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Awesome. How are you feeling?
I'm great. I'm alive, so everything else is the bonus.
Is there anything that I missed in the intro just now?
Nope, that was fantastic.
Thanks, Kawan. All right, so let's get started. So tell me more about your stroke.
So when I was in college, it was sophomore year, and I got up one morning and I had a headache.
Yeah.
And it lasted for a long time, like all day, like 13 hours. And a month before that, I had had my first brain surgery to get rid of the cavernous malformation. So I thought after the surgery, I went right to school within the next week. Mm-hmm. So I had went to school for a month and everything was going well. And then I started having these headaches. And it would go away, but it would come back. So that day, it was September 17th when it all started, the headaches. And when I got to my room to go to bed around like later in the evening, but I literally was swirling around in my bed for hours trying to find some semblance of a rest. I couldn't fall asleep. My head was just knocking. So I got up, went to the bathroom, and I thought I had threw up because my stomach started doing something strange.
Yeah.
And I went to go squat over the toilet, and I threw up, but it was just clear liquid, just water. And from what I understand, that's not a good sign. So I stepped back and I was just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. And I'm starting to feel a panic arise. And then it was like I got hit with a smoke cloud. I couldn't really see much. So I felt my way back to my bed and I climbed on my bed and I was on all fours, about to lay down. Before I knew it, my right arm went useless. My right leg kicked out and I kind of fell into the bed and rolled over. And I called the ambulance, and then I called my mom, and I was just like, she was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I think I'm having a stroke." And I never lost consciousness, but that was my first real full-on stroke. They often say I had many strokes here and there, but that was the first and probably only really severe instance of a stroke for me.
Yeah. So a stroke is a shortage of blood supply. So is that what they stated? What happened with you?
Yeah, they gave it a very specific term, and when I got to the hospital, they said they could fix it, but later on they found that they couldn't. They just had to, I guess, stop it, and I went to rehab after that. But that it was a scary event because I was alone in my apartment, and I didn't really know what to do. Didn't really have nowhere to go, so I was just kind of there.
It's great that you were aware that it was a stroke. Did you know about the symptoms of stroke prior to this?
No, and because I didn't, or I didn't pay attention to them because I just had surgery in August.
Yeah.
And this was in September. So I'm like, this can't be anything to do with my brain again. Like, I just got that fixed. So how is this possible? And at 20, you're thinking that's not possible for you to be, you're invincible. And I just got the brain surgery. So I'm like, this can't be a thing. Like, this isn't real. There's no way. So they said to go away. No worries. And unfortunately or fortunately, it didn't.
So is this stroke a symptom of your brain surgery?
Yeah, I think it was a symptom because at 20, again, you feel like you're on top of the world, and I didn't rest properly. Right after the surgery, the week after that, I was right back in school. So back to the hustle and bustle of university life, college life,
Yeah.
party life, whatever. I was back into the throes of it immediately instead of taking the time off I need to rest and recover.
So your brain surgeries, could you talk more about those? Why you had them?
Okay, so in the summer before the stroke, the summer 2014, I started noticing that I would be texting and my hand would kind of do its own thing, and I would lose my balance, and I didn't understand. One day I drove to my mentor's house. We were working together, and he said, he looked at me really funny for like a long time, and I was just like, "What?" And he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, yeah, in my head, it sounded like I was talking completely normal. What it
Yeah.
sounded like was, yeah, I'm fine. What are you? It was
Yeah.
very,
Breaking
very
up.
like that. And I couldn't write words on the paper. And he was like, you need to leave. You need to go to the doctor. And of course, me being Austin at 20, I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, what are you talking about? So his wife came downstairs and like, I don't know if moms develop this type of aura or this look, but they
Yeah.
give you one look, and I was like, I'm leaving now. So I went to my doctor. He did a neurological test, and when I closed my eyes and held my hands up in front of me, my right arm started drifting down. So I went to the hospital. Fast forward 6 hours in the lobby, and they said after a CAT scan, they found a lesion in my brain. They couldn't tell exactly what it was. So we went to another hospital, George Washington Hospital in Washington, D.C.,
Yeah.
did an MRI and discovered it was a cavernous malformation. So they said, we're not going to do anything right now. We're going to monitor. And I went home, and then within a week, I started, vision started getting blurry, double vision and dizziness. So I went back, and they operated on August 15th, 2014.
Wow.
That was the first surgery.
And so regarding the medical debt, so I'm assuming that you didn't have the insurance didn't cover this, right?
Yeah, the medical debt didn't come up until 2017. That
Yeah.
was after the third surgery. And the doctor my surgeon recommended was a
Yeah.
doctor named Dr. James K. Lou, saved my life, up at Rutgers University. And we
Wow.
went up there, and he was calm in his demeanor. Yeah, I do the surgery all the time. Like, no sweat. Let's get a date on the calendar. And we went out to handle the financial stuff, and it turns out my insurance did not cover him.
Yeah.
So I started a GoFundMe campaign, raised $50,000 in the first 2 days,
Wow.
70,000, 75 in the first 7 days, and about 90,000 total. But after the surgery, the medical costs, the charge for it, the smallest things, everything totaled up, and I did it on a spreadsheet, and it was about $1.2 million.
You're brilliant for having a spreadsheet and GoFundMe, because a lot of people wouldn't take that initiative, but you took that step because you reached out for help.
Yeah, I think the spreadsheet was of my own thing, just so I could see the numbers.
Yeah.
But Brent and my grandma Sandra are responsible for me getting the GoFundMe. They said, "Hey, you should start one." And initially I started at $500,000 the goal, but someone convinced me to lower it, so it ended up being $100,000. But that's not here nor there, because that was like it was like a miracle because all my surgeons had come together at the same conference and decided on Dr. James Lee doing the surgery. Insurance went ahead and stepped in and covered a lot of the bill.
Wow. Look at that. Yeah. The universe provides. But someone influenced you to put limitations on the amount.
Yeah. And I mean, I regret it. I wish I had done the 500, but at the same time, we live and you learn.
At that time, it was a very sensitive time for you. So your thinking ability may have not been as clear as, as it would have been.
Right.
So during this time, like, what pushed you through? Like, what kept you going and knowing that you're going to come out on the other side of this?
It's funny because it was not a thought for my life, really, me staying alive. It was more like, if I quit, if I crumble, if I forward, if I don't defeat this challenge, everyone around me that's watching will lose hope. And they won't have the ability or strength or the courage to fight through whatever their adversities may be. So I can't afford, I can no longer give thought to giving up, give thought to dying, give thought to quitting. So in this third surgery, it was all about everyone else. And then there was a therapist that was like, it's okay to not be okay. And then during this time, you should really be focusing on yourself. And this one, I was in rehab
Yeah.
after the surgery. But yeah, it was really, I wanted to keep everyone else up and let them know that I'm doing okay, that I'm making it through. Because again, my thought was, if I quit, if I died, then
Yeah.
everyone would know.
And more so for your family too, like your grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very powerful and selfless statement, because you're considering other people. Like, life's not just about you, it's about other people. And that's also what this channel entails, is to care about other people, It's really great.
Yeah, and it's a strange thing, because before I had the second surgery, which was October 1st, 2015, I had gotten a diagnosis from my doctor that the mass had grown back and it was bigger and faster in September of that year. And then within that waiting period between the diagnosis and the surgery, I resolved within myself that, hey, I'm okay with not waking back up. Like, if this is the end, this is the end. I'm tired of fighting. I'm done. And I had a very, I want to say, spiritual experience.
Yeah.
It's gonna sound odd, like it's out of a movie, but this is
Yeah.
what's best way I can explain it. So
Go ahead.
when they put me on anesthesia for the surgery, this is in October 2015, the second surgery, I had a dream, and I, opened my eyes, and I was standing there in like a jean jacket and a hoodie, and I used to box at Maryland. So I was like throwing punches, and everything was working and operating at 100%. There was no stroke symptoms, no weakness, and I was just like, wow, everything is really working. And then after a while, it started to rain, and the rain was like not clear like water, but it was black, like ink blots.
Yeah.
And it was dropping from the sky, and it wasn't touching me. And then I started to float up. So at this point, I'm watching this happen from two different vantage points. One where I'm observing like a person on a canvas floating up, and one as I'm watching myself float to the sky. And when I get to the top of the canvas, there's a hand that kind of stops me and pushes me back down. And you're not done yet. And everything goes in reverse. And then I wake back up, and I'm like, damn. I woke back up. Well, I guess I gotta go rope the punches.
Yeah.
So
I definitely don't think your purpose was over. That's why you didn't go. You're here because of it.
yeah, and it was really surreal. But that story I tell never changes. That's how I know that was a real thing.
Yeah.
So interesting experiences. Also after the second surgery, I was introduced to fentanyl, which is a super painkiller. And I was given it every hour on the hour because I had a spinal tap, which is putting your body to getting any brain fluid leakage out. And your brain doesn't normally touch your skull. It floats around in some liquid up there. So I was in massive amounts of pain because my brain was actually knocking against my skull. And so they gave me fentanyl to soothe that pain. But unfortunately, it started crushing my chest cavity, so I had to get on Percocet. Dealt with the pain, but it wasn't as euphoric as fentanyl. And then that's what led me to my overuse of prescription drugs when I got back to school in that 2016 semester.
And that's when you went to rehab again.
So I went into rehab after the second surgery, after the stroke, and after the third surgery. So after the second surgery, I went to rehab. I wasn't using any prescription drugs. And then when I got into school in that following 2016, I randomly found them in my drawer looking for a pen. And that's when I was like, oh, I should go fill this. And then I started just taking them and, endorsing cough syrup. And it wasn't a physical dependence, like my body didn't require them. It was more like an mental, emotional separation from my reality. I wasn't able to face the emotional and mental pain of the trauma that I faced.
Yeah.
So I wanted to escape.
It's a lot, yeah. And that was your comfort. That was your, go-to.
Right.
So through this, how did it affect your day-to-day activities? Like, how was your experience in needing help from others, getting around?
I
nature.
feel like, especially in that 2016 time frame,
Hmm.
I isolated myself a lot. So people just come outside, hey, let's go do this, and I would kind of avoid people. I was really closed in. I didn't want to be around people. I have difficulty even now sometimes asking for help. So
Yeah.
it really felt like it made me feel really isolated, and it was of my own doing. Choosing to be separate. But then I want to say in the end of that year, I got into a relationship, and she really encouraged me to pursue therapy and,
Wow.
tackle the mental health issues I was facing, the depression, anxiety, the constant term I come to realization with recently was passively suicidal, which is
Yeah.
you're not actively trying to kill yourself, but you're
Visual.
carrying that. If I died today, it'd be fine. So I
Yeah.
carried that from sophomore year until about August 22nd of this year,
Hmm.
like last Monday. And
Wow.
that's the first time I wrote in my journal, today I feel whole. And I think that had a lot to do with me completing the book and getting ready to be more comfortable sharing my story. And there were other influences along the way, but now I found my place of deep, deep gratitude about life, people, and everything that is. I find myself rooting myself in the present moment a lot more, and that's been a really big help. Journaling, meditation, reading,
Yes.
and writing this book. That's really been a saving
Yeah.
grace as of late.
So let's talk more about the book. So how long did it take for you to write the book?
So the book
Yeah.
covers a time period from 2012 to 2018. I started the book after that, so July 2018. I
Wow.
didn't finish until August of 2020, but
Yeah.
I didn't take it seriously until the end of 2019. I probably could have finished it
Mm.
within a year, but I took my time and I didn't take it seriously. And the first draft people didn't like, and I had to rewrite it, restructure it. But now I can write a book on how to write a book. So,
Yeah.
I needed those trials and tribulations. But the book, again, is called Favor: How Stroke, Struggle, and Surgery Help Me Find My Life Purpose. And now there's opposite covers. And then the book, every chapter is attached to a song. I see the world through music.
Wow.
Um, and you'll see that in the story there are two distinct voices that kind of personify the devil and the angel on my shoulder, if you will.
Yeah.
And those were some of the thoughts that tried to bring me down and propel me forward. And the book just covers a lot of the intricacies of the surgery, what I was experiencing, not necessarily the medical portion, but just the emotional, mental strain, how I view people, the main characters during this time of my life, and how at the end I resolved to just start talking in January of 2018, and how that started to change my perspective. I just started my second book, and that's going to cover the next time period, but
Yeah.
we'll get there. But the book, I think, it really has got to a point where I feel like I feel proud putting this out, and I really think it's going to be a good read. People that have read it so far have really been um, transpired to a whole nother perspective. Have really
Yeah.
been inspired by this book. So that's what my goal is, to inspire others to use their power in their story to inspire others. And that's what I'm aiming to do with my life.
And I also see that you're a reader, you're creative, you're an artist overall, and that you're displaying that alongside the mental illnesses and the physical impairment aspect. And it's really great because you're needed. Like, we need people like this. Like, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're alive. Go on.
Thank you so much. Like I
You're
said,
very humble.
we it's a 400 trillion to one chance that you're born human, and the fact that you are
Yeah.
is already a win. And every
Yeah.
day my feet touch the ground, everything else is a bonus. So I'm grateful for that, the opportunity to speak with you and share my story with whoever's willing to listen.
You're a special person.
I appreciate that.
It's emotional a bit. And so so you went through, numerous times, I'm assuming, that were possibly breaking points. Was there ever one specific time, like you mentioned, where you were ready to give up that one time and then you had the spiritual awakening? So was that your like only main breaking point?
There were 2 times before that. Before the surgery, before the stroke, that fall 2013 semester, I had like a mental outburst breakdown.
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of ran rampages on campus, and resulted in me just like, you know what, I'm just gonna end this.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a car coming up the road, and then as the car got closer, I'd been walking around campus, smashing things, and just kind of rampaging. And then at the end, I started to like calm down
Yeah.
and just become resolving that this is over. So as the car came up the road, slowly, I was just like, I think I'm just gonna just be done with it. So I walked out into the middle of the street, and as the car was coming, a brother of mine, Christopher Steer, grabbed me from the road and kind of, saved my life in that instance. If it hadn't been for him and the people that were around me at that time,
Yeah.
I don't think we'd be having this conversation. And then another time, so that was fall 2013. The other time was in April of 2016. This
Yeah.
is right after I dealt with the dependence on opioids. I actually kicked the opioids cold turkey in one day.
Wow.
That was, and again, I think it was a little bit easier for me because it wasn't a physical dependence. It
Yes.
was more of an emotional escape, if you will. But on April 24th, I'm not sure if that's correct. I joined a fraternity, and I wrote a message to them, and I was just like, I'm tired, I'm dying. And I was listening to a Kid Cudi song called Ghost.
Yeah.
And one of the lines were, I hope they understand that I really understand that they don't understand.
Yeah.
And that's where I felt like I was around people, but they didn't know what I truly felt or what I truly thought about myself. They couldn't hear or see my real thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So I was listening to that song on repeat, and I just reserved that, all right, it's time to really just end this. And within 10 minutes, someone's kicking my door down, and again, keeping me from doing that to myself. And, slowly over time, I got through that. And then I got to a relationship, and things started to turn up
Yeah.
and for the better. And, I'm still here today. And then 2 years went by, and then, a year went by, and then I graduated, started
Yeah.
living life. And then the third surgery came around. But, I'm still here, and I'm grateful for every day I have to live.
Yeah. And it's incredible that you're still here and that you kicked the addiction in one day, because my mentor Les Brown, he had an opioid addiction as well, since he had cancer, and it took him longer than one day to kick that cold turkey. And it was a really—
And Les Brown is a strong guy.
Yeah, Les Brown is. All right. So are there any biscuits that you want to share with others who are experiencing what you did to help them pull through this time?
Again, my basis for everything is
Yeah.
gratitude for life itself, the fact that you still are alive. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things that people will say are different between us two, but the
Yeah.
fact that we are human and we just took a breath are the
Yeah.
things that make us human. That's what makes us alive. And the fact that you're still alive tells you that there's still more for you to do. You may not be doing it in the same way that you want to do, because I was an athlete. I was running track, playing football, I was boxing. In my head, I thought that was a part of my identity. But
Yeah.
the surgeries and the strokes stripped that away. But now I'm using my talents, my real purpose, to use what I have left to give everybody something they can use to better their lives. So there is still a purpose. There's still a reason you are alive. And, it takes a little time to find that. It took me about
Yeah.
6 years, but there is a reason you're still alive. Until your purpose is fulfilled, you're going to be here for a while. So taking time, learn yourself. And that's what I had to realize. You're not disabled. I don't believe in being disabled. You're just able to do things differently. And that's
Yeah.
how I view myself. And that's how people that have disabilities should view
Yeah.
themselves. Like, you're not disabled means you're not able. And you're
Yes.
clearly able because you're still able to breathe and live and talk and whatever else you can do. So use those talents that you may think are— a lot of people have talents.
Yeah.
And they do things and they don't put any value on them. And people are like, oh, how'd you do that? And we're like, oh, it's easy. Those are the things you should be highlighting because you're doing what somebody else can't do. So do that all the time, every day. Sweat it, breathe it, live it, all that.
Eat it. So I feel you've become more spiritual through this. Have you?
Absolutely. Again,
Spiritual.
the book is called Favor, and
Yeah.
for me, favor is not something you can grasp or it's just you can reach for. It's bestowed upon you. And my grandma says, favor ain't fair. It's just favor. And when you're
Wow.
given that, whether you're a believer or not, when you're given this grace, this gratitude, this favor, this divine intervention in your life to continue your mission, you kind of have no choice but to believe. So that's
Wow.
where I'm at with it. And it's really keeping me steadfast and moving my mission forward.
So where can people find your book, Kawan?
It's on Amazon. It's in all the countries. I get all the English-speaking countries. So
Yeah.
Canada, UK, America, Australia, all the
Mhm.
countries that speak English, you can find it on the Amazon site.
Okay.
Or you can hit up me directly on Instagram, Facebook, Kawan Glover, KAWANGLOVER. You can find me and contact me directly. You can email me at overcomeadversitytoday@gmail.com. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. Happy to give you advice. You can learn more about my coaching program. But I'm just here to spread my story and hope it inspires others to change their perspective on life.
Yes.
And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh, you pulled a Les Brown.
Yep.
Wow, I really appreciate you for coming on Chai Together as our first guest. And I'm going to leave all your information below. And thank you once again. Like, this is much needed. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of great feedback about how it was much needed for a lot of people who are unable
It
to.
was an honor to be here, and I'm glad I could do this for your audience, for you, for anyone who happens to listen. I'm thankful.
Yeah. Thank you, Kawan.
Thank you for having me.